Hello, my loves. Abigail here with another candle wax reading. This one is messages from ancestors. We will first do a energy check-in to make sure that this reading is for you, and then we'll get into the candle wax reading. So let's get started by pulling some tarot just to see, you know, who this message is for. Um, if you've noticed, I don't read reversals. um, okay, so who is this message for? It is for those of us in the collective who are really struggling with knowing what to do, with knowing what to do next. For a lot of the people who are coming to this reading, there's an energy of like sensing that something needs to happen, sensing that there's a message coming through, sensing that something or someone is reaching out to them from the spirit world and not really knowing what it is. We also have the Seven of Wands. This is also for people who have been really putting in the work, really trying to shift things and have gotten burnt out, and who are deeply burnt out and are like, when are things going to change? When are things going to get better? Why am I not understanding? Why do I feel confused? Why are things not working out? Pull three more to kind of see if there's anything else. Oop, yep. Yeah, this is for people who are a bit artistic and emotionally sensitive. This reading is specifically for people who feel like they have a really strong intuition and also feel very sensitive to energy. Like, you're like, could it let up a little bit? It feels like a lot. Um, this group of people is also for the self starters. It is for those of you who are either a leader in your field or who run your own business. This group is for the innovators. It's also for people who are really seeking their own community and their own place to belong in the world. And in this moment, it feels like you aren't sure what this place is. And in your pursuit of said place, you have gotten really burnt out and overwhelmed. So that is who this reading is for. If this resonates with you, I usually go for 60-40. If 60% of this resonates, then I suggest you stay for this reading. But if you are feeling burnt out, don't know what to do, are looking for some guidance, this is the wax reading for you. So let me get the water set up and we'll jump into it. Hello, all. We are back with the water and our candle. We're going to get this reading started. I'll light our candle. Take a moment while I'm doing this to settle in to wherever you are. Take some nice deep breaths, um, allowing your body to settle. Open yourself up to whatever guidance comes through. Um, if some of you work with ancestors, maybe call out their name. But yeah, just settle in and we're going to see what are some answers ooh, to what's going on. Oh, that's really interesting. We got a bunch of flowers just right off the bat. Pardon me, I forgot to get my handy dandy toothpick here to help me navigate the wax. But this is super interesting. We got flowers. Like, I don't know if you can see this one. It literally looks like a daisy. Um, Something is sprouting, something is growing. We've also got these little seeds. Some seeds have been planted, and I do think we're coming up on harvest. So the first message from your ancestors is don't give up, hang in there. Things are happening. This is a timeless reading, but if you are like anywhere near the spring when you're watching this, um, stuff is shifting and it feels like very spring energy, even if you're not actually experiencing spring physically in this moment. But if you look, it's all these little blossoms and flowers, and it's also a really scattered reading. If you notice, it's like really spreading out really quickly, and so it definitely feels like there's a lot going on. It feels like you're also ancestors. They're recognizing that you have a lot going on, that you're doing a lot, that you're kind of pulled in multiple different directions. It also feels like resources aren't necessarily abundant right now, or if they are, they're kind of all over the place. Like there's some places where you're like, oh, I'm getting fed and cared for and loved on, in maybe my relationships, or in maybe at work I'm getting praised, but in my relationships I'm feeling a lot of emptiness. Um, and so yeah, there's just this energy, and if you notice, it's like swirling, this energy of just so much going on. I also think, this is a recognition that you have put a lot of energy out there. However, it is very scattered and it feels like, and this isn't either good or bad, but it definitely feels like you've kind of been kind of throwing energy out there and it has yet to all come together. However, it will come together soon, because if you notice, we're already starting to get some cohesion in the like floral chaos of the energy here. Okay, so things are going to start coming together. Um, there's also a message coming through that you're on the right track, that the things that you're pursuing are right for you. Um, the timing just hasn't quite landed yet. Let me take a peek and look at the wax for a minute. Yeah, so we have like a figure. It's like almost like a female cartoon figure with like luscious hair and like a spring dress, and she's like sprinting forwards. And this doesn't have to be about your gender specifically, but there is a message from an ancestor coming in to say, like, enjoy the ride. Like, enjoy where you are now, because things are going to pick up and you are going to have a lot of responsibilities coming up. But in this moment, even though it might feel really stressful, you are getting to experience freedom. We also have a very distinctive heart here. I don't know if you can see that. Pull this one in. But there's a heart here. So I do think for some of you, the thing that you're pursuing or have been pursuing has been romance. Um, an ancestor, whether you're with someone or not, they're basically being like, it will work out. Now, I will say for some of you, if you are in a relationship and there is a struggle, um, yeah, the kind of message I'm getting, because we have like a kneeling person here who's like praying. Um, your prayers will be answered, but not necessarily with this person. Your ancestors are like, part of the reason if you are in a relationship, and this is just for people in a relationship, if you are in a relationship and you're feeling really frazzled, a good question to ask yourself is like, am I frazzled because of life and extenuating circumstances, or am I mostly frazzled because of the person I'm with? Because the message I'm getting is that those of you in a relationship, it's not going to work out. Now, once you are able to move past that relationship, yes, love is absolutely coming in. And I think your next relationship is going to be the one. But if things are already going badly, I don't see them getting better. For my single Pringles, this is actually a really positive sign. We have like a little calf here, or a lamb, I can't quite tell. But it is kind of that spring energy, that energy of like birth and newness. But for my single folks, I do think if you have left someone recently, or your last relationship ended not so great, but you learned a lot of lessons and you're like, I have all these boundaries, your ancestors are saying, hell yeah. Um, but it looks like new love is coming in pretty soon. We also have a shape here that kind of looks like a Chinese dragon, which is about protection. Well, Chinese lion, sorry. Chinese lion, which is about protection and like guardian and stuff. And so all of you, regardless of your relationship status, are protected, which means for those who are single, do not worry about being duped as long as you are connected to spirit, because spirit and your ancestors will not let you get tricked again. And if you are in a relationship, you're also being guided within that. And for a lot of you, it is about trusting what you are hearing from your ancestors. Specifically, I'm getting like your matrilineal ancestors from your mother's side, but just specifically ancestors who are predominantly women. They have your back when it comes to love and romance. And that can also include them uh, helping to deep six a relationship they don't think you're getting met in. I have a very specific message here. Um, there's like an animal that's like on its knees and looks really tired and exhausted here. I'm not quite sure what animal it is, but I can see it kneeling. Might be another cow. Um, just that, you know, if you're not feeling very good right now when it comes to your love life, to your current partner, it is a sign, and you deserve to not be in this exhausted, kind of prostrate position. Like, you deserve to feel met and loved in your relationships, and it doesn't have to be hard all the time. Um, I do think for a lot of you, the kind of wishes and desires are part of the reason we had the Ten of Wands earlier is because you have a lot of them, which is not a bad thing, but it is like we have a lot to cover. And so it definitely feels like as the wax starts to kind of spread and move around, it definitely feels as though you're not just manifesting healthy relationships, you're manifesting money, you're manifesting like guidance on career, guidance on business, guidance when for some of you, when it comes to moving to a new place, for some of you, it's a city away, some of you, it's like a district or state or region away. And for some of you, it's even international. And your ancestors are asking you, what's the holdup? Like, why are you holding back on your dreams and desires, especially if some of you do have the resources? Not like it's not like you have an excess of resources, but you do have enough to kind of take a gamble in this moment. And so they're like, go for it. We also have like this little cherub figure here. Um, some of you are being called to participate with more trust and with more naivete. I think a lot of you have been burned. A lot of you, I think, are very tied to divine timing. And so a lot of times you'll get readings and you'll get messages that'll be like, oh, it's coming soon. And then 3 months later, you get another reading or a message and it goes, oh, it's coming soon. And so there is an element of being like, so when is it coming? Like, so when is it happening? Or you've even gotten like specific times, like, oh, it's going to happen in cancer season, it's going to happen in, you know, yada yada, this season or that season. And you're like, well, it hasn't, and I'm feeling really frustrated and overwhelmed. And your ancestors are like, well, it's kind of our fault because we want you to get to a certain place, and a part of that has been them breadcrumbing, which I also don't enjoy, but it does happen. We also have Bird here. um, they're also telling you it's less about the time and more about the energy being right for all parties. So for some of you, the reason your business hasn't taken off is because your specific destined clients aren't in the place to receive what you offer, or in the financial place to receive what you offer. For those of you who are interested in relationships, whether in one or not, if you're waiting on an engagement or if you're waiting on meeting your partner and you're like, when is this going to happen? I am going to ask specifically about timing because I do that, but they are also saying that there's a lot of moving pieces. And so it really does make prediction hard for this group of people, because there's so much going on karmically, and so much going on ancestrally. And I will say the more karmic and ancestral work you do, the better the timing and the predictions are going to be when you get readings. Um, we have like a little frog here, which is about fertility and rebirth and growth. Frogs are some of the first creatures in like swampy areas to start chirping and talking in the spring. And so it's about to begin. You're about to get the thing that you have wanted for oh so long. Um, but there are a few more things that need to be aligned in order for this to happen. I do find this kind of shape very interesting. Part of it's obviously the bowl we're using, but um, there's just such like a wide range of information and expression and story coming through here. It feels also a lot of you are very, at least in this moment, tied to linear time. And some of you might benefit in engaging in a mindset that is more centered around astral time and cosmic time, where multiple things can happen at once to kind of help give you a perspective on timing and the things that you're trying to accomplish and achieve. I feel like some of you are like very tied to um, human time, and not all of you run on human time, and that's kind of why there's a cognitive dissonance going on. We have another little bird here. This one has a bit of a bigger bill. Birds with bigger bills tend to eat harder objects, and so I think in this, moment is you're like, why am I struggling? And there is an element where your ancestors are, well, you're built for this. You're built to be the person who breaks curses. You're built to be the one who forges ahead and makes new horizons. You're built to be the one who refuses to participate long term in toxic relationships. And while another frog, and while has been really difficult for you, there is a point at which it really is going to pay off. Very much like frogs lay thousands of eggs and they have tons of little tadpoles, and it feels like you've been kind of in the like pre egg laying, mid egg laying, and you're kind of waiting for, the proverbial tadpoles to hatch, and it's coming. We also have this beautiful tree here, which is always a really great sign. It's a sign of longevity, it's a sign of building and growth. It's a sign that like all of your work and the frustrations you have, they are paying off. Um, for some of you who feel like you do actually know, and the only thing that's making you unsure is the fact that you haven't seen payback yet. You haven't seen like your ships return. They are going to return soon. So if the reason you felt drawn to this reading is because you're like, well, I feel like I've done everything right, but I'm starting to doubt myself because things haven't started getting better. They are about to get better. They're about to get better quite soon. This tree is very verdant. So we are looking at summertime whenever you're watching this, um, or late spring. Um, so just know that, stuff's changing, stuff's shifting. You are doing the right things. You just have to kind of hang in there and really have faith. Also, I'm getting the message from your ancestors that all of your like manifestations and your spell work and all of like the hoping and dreaming you've done has been effective. Now we are just waiting for those hopes and dreams to come to fruition, which is honestly some of the hardest phase. It's like the hardest phase to do. We also have like what looks like a dinosaur head here. There is an ancient wisdom in some of you that you have been listening to. And at this point, you're like, maybe I shouldn't have listened to it because these kind of zany, far out ideas that I've been getting from spirit aren't really working. It's not that they're working, it's that everything takes time. And the people listening to this reading, you have a very unique relationship of time. I'm hearing either things like happen out of the blue and you're like, oh my God, I didn't even ask for that, but thank you. Or you ask for stuff and it feels very arduous and seems to take a long time. Now, I am hearing, and we have like a smokestack here, I am hearing that you will be getting clarity, like full clarity, full, like words. Give me a second. The smoke will clear by the end of whatever year you're watching this in. Doesn't mean that stuff isn't going to happen, but you're going to have full clarity by the end of whatever year you're currently in. Might even, instead of being like the Gregorian calendar year, we might even be looking at like the zodiac year that you're in. But you can, whatever feels most resonant. Maybe for you, it is, when I'm recording this is 2026. So 2026. Maybe for some of you, it is the zodiacal year, which starts in the middle of Aries, in the not middle of Aries season, middle of April. Why am I saying middle of April? Middle of March. Jesus. Can you tell Neptune is on a very tricky part of my chart right now? Anyways, we also have like a little teddy bear here with like a little sack on his back. This group and your ancestors are really affirming it. You have, part of the reason I think there's a lot of frustration is you have packed up your bags and you have taken risks and you have gone out on a limb and you have trusted the universe and you're just not feeling like you have been rewarded for that action, or in the very least just had the energy returned to you. And so in this moment, the universe wants to affirm, and your ancestors, that you are going to get paid back. And especially if you've been doing this manifestation for a minute, it's actually not that far off. Shaping up here. We have an owl in flight. Some of your success is going to come kind of under cover of darkness. You're not going to realize that someone's been talking positively about you, or that you've like opened up a new market, or someone's been praising you at work. And so for some of you, unfortunately, this is kind of darkest before the dawn energy, where you're like, oh, I'm about to give up, and then things shift. I do think for some of you, unfortunately, it is about being very, very clear with your guides and your ancestors about your limitations. Being like, hey, I've been doing this for a minute and nothing has come through, and I really need something good to happen. I really need change. I really need shifts. And I invest so much in our relationships, and I really feel like I deserve to to be treated as an important part of this work, especially if I'm the one taking all the risks. So definitely have a clear conversation with your ancestors. It is not always peaceful. It is not always fun and happy with ancestral work. We do have conflicts. I have some clients whose ancestors are pretty hardcore and have like kept them from stuff they really wanted. And a lot of times the shift that allows things to change is when they have a serious talk with their ancestors and their guides about how they're kind of done with everything and things need to change and they can't participate, continue to like burn their energy out trying to do something if they're never going to get any kind of affirmation. We have like a little puppy here, a little dog. For some of you, I do think you're actually going to get a pet soon, so that's really exciting. Maybe the cat distribution system, or the opportunity to adopt a dog comes up. Doesn't have to be dog or cat, but something in the pet zone. It has kind of morphed into a little bit of a fox, and it's an indication that maybe some sneakier energy might be more helpful for you. Also, maybe some wheeling and dealing with your deities and guides and ancestors to be like, hey, if you want this, then you have to give me that. Like if you want me to have a specific career, then you have to cough up like a loving partner to support me in that. If you want a loving partner, like if you want me to be with a specific type of person, um obviously someone who loves you and everything, but they like have a very specific person in mind, then you need to give me a lovely career so we can have a beautiful life. So basically bargaining with them, which is a legitimate way to communicate with them. We have a pheasant here, which is about wildness and freedom and making your own path. If some of you have been trying to do things the traditional way, it is not going to work. You have to do it the non-traditional way. You will not have doors open for you. You will be jimmying open a window and finding other ways to access spaces and places, because you are a very unique soul. You are not going to work within the system. And that technically is a good thing. It makes you much more spiritually vibrant to be kind of at odds with the current system. We have this snake, which is a sign of rebirth and growth and deep magic, transformation. You are in the middle of a transformation process, which is why this feels oh so spicy and oh so difficult. Um, but I do think we are coming to an ending here. We will be finishing this out quite soon, but especially with the cards that I pulled at the beginning and the messages that we have been getting, it's definitely kind of the last gasp, the last push. Your ancestors are like, hang in there. It is coming. What you've been dreaming of, whatever it may be, whether it be love, career, a move to a different place. For some of you, I'm hearing it has stuff to do with paperwork and visas. That's going to work out in 2026, or whatever year you're currently in. Um, yeah. So a lot of kind of like by the end of this year, whenever you find this reading, good things are going to happen. I do want to ask them if maybe we could get a little more specific, because you could find this in January. You could find this on December 31st. And I am curious to know. But first, I want to kind of talk about this kind of like little slug over here. You know, you are a fighter. You are, this is funny, you are a pest. You thrive when no one else thinks you can. And while it's not fun, it has gotten you this far. And so continue to live that slug life, to continue to be hardy and to believe in yourself and your capabilities. And the fact that you have made it this far so you can keep going. And like I said, I do think things are going to start to shift and change. So your ancestors aren't asking you to keep going for forever on empty. They're also saying that, like, since you're on empty and you have done all this work, you can kind of chill for a minute. I know the anxiety is not going to let you chill for a minute. I know that's not how it works, but they are saying that things are going to shift before it's too late, is what I'm hearing. All right. Now, for a number, for a date, weeks, months, something that's a little more specific than before the end of whatever year you're in. Can we please have an answer? Well, we actually haven't gotten the number, but we have two people kissing here and hugging. So, for those of you looking for an intimate partner or a life partner, they are right around the corner. Like very close, very close. Like when I'm asking about time, they're like, oh, and by the way, love is coming in if you don't have it. And for those of you whose relationship just it's not bad, but it might feel like a little aimless, because we've already talked about the ones who are in tough situations. You know, there is an opportunity to reconnect and to find more intimacy. All right, timing, my dears. So I'm getting that the shift with the speed of the wax and the way that it's shaping up. We're looking at 8 weeks to 8 months, which is a pretty broad, broad stroke. Although it's not 8 months is not actually that long in the scope of a lifetime. But there's definitely an 8 in here. The drops are happening pretty quickly. So what my interpretation of this is that, and if you notice it's spilling over, is that it doesn't fully come to fruition. It's not fully stabilized till 8 months, but stuff starts to move in 8 weeks. So you meet someone, you get a job offer, you um, like have some popularity online, and that builds towards something that becomes more stable by the end of 8 months. Because it's not feeling like, oh, nothing happens until 8 months. So yeah, definitely 8 is coming through. Also remembering 8 is the infinity sign, which makes me chuckle because of how much they talked about how much your timing is like divinely timed. Um, so yeah, just a little hope. Things are going to start shifting within 8 weeks, which is 2 months. So hang in there, and the kind of full impact is going to unfold over the next 8 months. We are running to the end of our wax, but we do have multiple figures here. They're also saying it's not just about like lovers, but it's about companionship for some of you, like friendships, communities, and groups, and that's also coming through. If you feel really isolated and alone, it feels like a lot of you within this 2-month period are going to start to meet more like-minded people, whether that be people who like contribute to your career and business, or people who are friends who just support you emotionally. But there's an element of like two people sitting on a bench and kind of like chit-chatting and having like a little coffee date. And it's not necessarily romantic or platonic. It just, you are going to be finding your people in the next um, 2 months, and it'll develop over the next 8 months. Um, one final image coming through. I'm going to blow this out before I end up uh, completely burning myself. Is this? Curious. Sort of easy what that shape is trying to give me. It's almost giving creature. Almost giving. Let me pick this up and see. A little warm, are we? What image am I supposed to see in this? Yeah, it's kind of giving creature or entity. Some of you are meant to work with some kind of spirit. That's not necessarily an ancestral one, but it's tied to your ancestral line. Feels like it has a lot to do with past lives. They're not really feeling like completely good or completely bad. They're like a neutral energy. But for any of you who this resonates with, there's like an ancestral like contract with spirits and with other entities in your family line. And that's something you should look into, because I think that might open some more abundance for you. Kind of tapping into what you've done in past lives, um, and like your ancestral ties to other spirits and deities. They might help. I don't think it's going to necessarily move this forward, but I think for future stuff, well, and maybe in the next 2 months, for future stuff, and in the next 2 months might give a little extra oomph, and also might unlock some karmic entanglements that are holding you back. We have a figure here that's kind of leaning over and reading something. I do think some really important information or knowledge is going to be coming in pretty dang soon, either in the form of like a book or an article, or a text message from someone that's really going to give you some ideas or information or opportunity. We also have a hammerhead shark in here. Sharks are creatures of the deep. They are honestly very social creatures, and very determined. They instill fear in others, but they're not necessarily monsters, which I feel like you guys might be. Where like it wouldn't be bad for you to kind of terrify a few people. It wouldn't be bad for you to be intimidating. Um, yeah, not a bad thing for you to be a bit scary, especially your haters. And then the last image I think that's coming through is there's this like horned spirit right here. Um, and it kind of ties back to this one. I think they're from different maybe groups and they're not completely directly tied, but for this group, there is an element of um, needing to work with more spirits, needing to connect with more deities, needing to work with plants. Not necessarily to get this ball rolling, but for like the overall progress of your soul in your life. And I was said that was going to be the last, but this is actually really interesting. There's like a mermaid here with like a coiling creature tail, kissing someone who's off to the side. And so I think this is a message for people looking for a partner. The person you are going to be with is not the same as you. You're not going to have the same career. You're not going to have the same family dynamics. You are like a creature from a different world, basically, compared to the life that they've lived. Doesn't mean that you're not greatly compatible. Doesn't mean that you're not meant for each other. It just means that you have very different lives and very different familial connections. And I think in a way it's really beautiful because it feels like it's very much an opposites attract situation where you can support each other in really unique ways. Um, and if you are with someone, this is about you and your partner coming together to look at the ways in which you are very different and how they support the other. And for that one group that keeps niggling at me, if you can't come and meet in the middle, then this is not the relationship for you. All right, my guys, these were my messages from ancestors. I hope it helped. I know this group was very much looking for answers, and I hope it offered you some of that and some comfort. I wish you a blessed day in whatever space and time this finds you in, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.